It's a show where us two guys, watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots. Basically, movies that we haven't seen, but we're rectifying that for you. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
And this week we're watching two movies, two that I haven't seen. And to introduce the first movie, I'm going to toss it over to Andy. What'd you pick for us to watch this week?
Walter Neff, an insurance salesman, gets tangled up with an unhappy housewife named Phyllis Dietrichson, who has plans to snuff out her husband and collect an insurance settlement. A settlement which will pay twice as much, thanks to a clause which includes double indemnity.
If there was a way to get it like that, all the worry would be over. See what I mean, Walter?
Sure, I got good eyesight. You mean you want him to have the policy without him knowing it? And that means without the insurance company knowing that he doesn't know it. That's the setup, isn't it?
Is there anything wrong with it?
No, I think it's lovely. Then if some dark, wet night that crown block did fall on him...
What crown block?
Only sometimes it can't quite make it on its own. It has to have a little help.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course, it doesn't have to be a crown block. It can be a car backing over and we can fall out of the upstairs window. Any little thing like that, just so it's a morgue job.
Are you crazy?
Not that crazy.
So Double Indemnity is directed by Billy Wilder, and it's crazy to me that we're coming up on episode 300, and I don't think we've ever done a Billy Wilder film.
We haven't.
Which is crazy because he's directed some really, really very well-known films. So I'm sure we'll do some more of his films, obviously, later on. But he's directed films like Sunset Boulevard, Some Like It Hot, The Apartment, which, if I'm not mistaken, also has Fred MacMurray in it, and Witness for the Prosecution, as well as other movies, and he wrote a lot of movies as well. Very, very acclaimed writer, director, Billy Wilder. The screenplay is, of course, by Billy Wilder, and he collaborated with some other guy named Raymond Chandler. Yes, Raymond Chandler.
Maybe that name's familiar for people that's watched a lot of episodes of our show.
Yeah, he is the creator of Philip Marlowe, the detective Philip Marlowe, and he wrote novels such as The Big Sleep, Farewell, My Lovely, if I can say that correctly, and The Long Goodbye, and It Happens Every Day. That song, now it's in your head. It's gonna stay there.
It is.
The lone song that they play in that movie over and over, The Long Goodbye. The movie Double Indemnity, however, is based on the book Double Indemnity, written by James M. Cain. James M. Cain was another, kind of like Raymond Chandler, another author of hard-boiled kind of fiction, detective fiction. He wrote books like Mildred Pierce, which was also made into a film with Joan Crawford, and The Postman Always Rings Twice, which has John Garfield and Lana Turner, and is kind of similar to Double Indemnity as far as like, hey, help me knock off my husband. Double Indemnity stars Barbara Stanwyck as Phyllis Dietrichson, Fred MacMurray, who's pretty much playing against type. He typically played good guys, not really necessarily a good guy in this film for sure. He plays Walter Neff, the insurance salesman. Edward G. Robinson plays Barton Keyes, and Jean Heather plays Phyllis's stepdaughter, Lola Dietrichson. Jean Heather had a short career. She basically only acted in movies in the 1940s because she had an automobile accident in the late 1940s and it like messed up her face.
Oh, man.
So she had to retire from acting. I mean, I don't know how bad it did, but she retired from acting after that. But also in 1944, which is the year that Double Indemnity came out, Jean Heather starred in Going My Way, and Going My Way and Double Indemnity duked it out at the Oscars in 1945. And Going My Way won. But we'll talk about all the awards and stuff that were bestowed. I can't remember if I have or not. Okay. I'll say no.
Okay.
Raymond Chandler also has a cameo in Double Indemnity. He's reading a magazine outside of Barton Keyes' office at one point, although I did not know to look for him, and I did not see him, but I'm sure he's very visible. Anyway, this is a movie that I've seen before, although it's been a while. I saw it, I think, on TCM a long time ago, and I mean, I remembered it okay, but it wasn't something that really, really stood out to me. But it is a classic film noir, classic Billy Wilder film. So I figured, let's put it on the list and let's watch it. So, what did you know about Double Indemnity before going into it, if anything? And what did you think of Double Indemnity?
I knew it was in the Criterion Collection, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
4K.
4K
Criterion 4K
collection.
release, yeah.
And that's basically it. When I saw, like, during the opening credits who directed it, I was like, oh, Billy Wilder, nice. And then I saw Raymond Chandler and Billy Wilder wrote the screenplay, and I was like, okay, we're in for something good.
I'm like, all right.
So I was excited. Um,
You're like, please don't play the long goodbye the entire movie.
Yeah. Is there anyone in this movie named Marlo?
No,
No,
not this one. Not this one.
Overall, so I didn't know much going into it, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I found it pretty captivating. Overall, it's interesting because the movie kind of there's no mystery to it because the movie starts out with Walter Neff saying, you think this other person killed Miss Dietrichson, but I actually killed Miss Dietrichson.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, to me, like Babe Ruth calling a shot a little bit. Maybe that's not an apt comparison, but it's kind of like, oh, if you're going to remove a lot of mystery from, a kind of noir kind of mystery movie, then you're going to have to really like bring the goods to help like help pay, help have that payoff. And because now you're losing a pretty good motivator for the movie and stuff like that. And I thought the movie did really well. I found the cast was really strong. I found everyone just really, really interesting. And I really think Edward G. Robertson kind of stood out as Barton Keyes. He's kind of like he gets the, I don't know if like ham it up's the right word, but he gets to play it a little bit bigger than everyone else who kind of plays it grounded. But I think, Keyes and the way he's kind of like solving things and how he like gets like indigestion. I don't know if it's really indigestion whenever he feels like the case he's working on or the claim he's working on isn't right. He's kind of like and wants to work over that. Like I just kind of like him.
He's like, my GERD tells me that you did it.
I get acid reflux.
Yeah.
And I thought was it Fred McMurray?
Yeah.
Was awesome. Like he was really, really interesting and it's interesting like how fast he comes on to Phyllis. And it's interesting that
playing around.
That Phyllis is a young lady, because in our heads, I'm sure we all think of Phyllis as old blue hairs, not as
right.
not ladies in their late 30s, early 40s kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's just like comes on to her like super quickly, like as soon as like they're in the room together, or as soon as he sees her like on the on the landing or whatever.
She's in a towel.
Yeah, and
she's
he's
got the anklet.
Yeah, and he's just like kind of throwing like innuendos at her like 100 miles an hour, like you do with like a Billy Wilder script and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting and stuff like that. But I always the thing I liked is that he always like throws his hat on like something like a horizontal surface. Like in his house, he just like throws it on the chair. When he walks into their house, he just kind of throws it on like a like a chest or something like that. I thought it was pretty funny. But overall, I thought, like I said, I thought it was pretty good. I found the whole story kind of captivating. I didn't know what was going to go or how I was going to do it. Like, I thought they were actually going to, like, again, we spoiled the movie for our main review, but I thought they were actually going to throw him from the train, like that, to fake his death. And so when he killed him in the car, I'm like, oh, well, how are they going to get this double indemnity clause to happen? Because, like, he, like, killed him in the car. And then, because he grabs everything. So it's almost like a heist movie a little bit in that aspect of like, he grabs these bunch of things before he heads out. And you're like, oh, and he's like, now I'm going to use this, pretend like it's a cast and all this kind of stuff. So I thought that was cool. So overall, I found it pretty captivating, pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Well, and when they do actually do the setup with him on the train, pretending like he's her husband and everything, what's really cool to me is when he gets off and they get in the car won't start.
Yeah.
It's very tense. It's a very tense moment because they're like, she's like trying to start it and he's just like getting nervous. And then he reaches over and finally is able to start it. Yeah. That's a great thing. And apparently that was something that they kind of came up with on the fly.
Oh, that's cool.
They were originally just going to have him drive away, and bing, bang, boom. It's, nothing bad, but they were like, oh no, it'd be more interesting. It'd be more tense if the car doesn't start. So yeah, that's a very cool part.
And I like how it and along those lines, like I feel like it goes pretty smoothly the whole time, but then just because Barton Keyes can't let it go. Well, even then he kind of comes to it a little bit later. It's just like all of a sudden like the tension starts ramping up towards the end and all that kind of stuff. So I liked how like everything was pretty smooth sailing, but then towards the end we get this like rapid ascent of like stress and tension on all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, when he brings the one guy who was on the train to the office to see him, and the guy kind of looks at Fred McMurray like he's like, hey, have you been to Oregon or whatever? Like I said, I know I've seen you, basically. And he's like, no, I've not been there. Or whatever.
There's a Neff that owns like an automobile dealership.
The walls are closing in. And I didn't write his name down, but the cinematographer, I think his last name is Seitz. They talk about, because I watched on the Criterion Blu-ray, there's a special feature that's from like 2006 or something where all these different people are talking about the importance of Double Indemnity and why it's such a great film. And they talk about how the cinematographer, really made use of shadows really, really well in the film. And there's a lot of situations where the Venetian blinds cast a shadow on Fred MacMurray or on Barbara Stanwyck, and it looks like a jail cell, like the bars of a jail cell. I can't articulate what I'm trying to say. The bars of a jail cell, like on their faces and stuff like that, to again kind of give that sense of impending doom to them.
And so there's one shot that I really noticed that too, because he was on the phone, and it's just like you can see it's almost like they're turning down like the f-stop. Is like the scene just gets darker and darker and darker while he's on the phone. Like I noticed that, and I also like the staging of when she comes to the door and Keys is in Neff's apartment. And how he kind of hides her behind the door. And I think his apartment number...
She grabs the door to let him know that she's there, which is really cool,
Well, is that the case? Because I thought she could overhear. I thought he left the door open so she can overhear, and then she knew to kind of...
Yeah, so she hears them inside talking, so she hides behind the door as it's opening, but so that he doesn't pull the door closed or something like that, she grabs it to let him know somebody's behind there. And so he's just like, okay, I got it, whatever.
It's just smart. It's just smart. And I think his apartment number is 69, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice. No, nice. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't notice that, if that's the case.
But like I said, there's a lot of cool things that are happening. It just feels slick. You know what I mean? It feels smart. It feels well thought out. It just feels well rendered. I'm sorry. I keep on interrupting when you're supposed to give your
not at all. It's a good discussion. I'm glad that you liked it. I was gonna say when I saw it back on TCM back in the day, I liked it, but I just was like, okay, nothing really special or whatever. So watching it now, years later, again, I saw it as an adult then. It's not like I saw it as a kid and didn't understand it, but just I don't know if it was like hyped up or something, but I was like, yeah, it was okay. So watching it again, I have a much greater appreciation for it now. I think it's a very, very solid movie. I still feel like I should love it more than I do, but I mean, I do like it a lot. And I think one of the things about it you mentioned is I love Edward G. Robinson, and I love his entire character. I mean, everybody's great in the movie, and obviously attention is always directed at Barbara Stanwyck and Fred MacMurray because they're the two leads, and they're very good at in this film. But I think Edward G. Robinson's little guy, just constantly trying to figure things out, and he talks really fast, and he's always got something snappy to say. I love it when their boss, I guess it is, calls them in because he's like, oh yeah, this Phyllis Diedrich says she's trying to get money from us and all this stuff, and he criticizes Edward G. Robinson for not dressing nicer.
Yeah, he's like, next time I'll wear tux.
Yeah, he's like, next time I'll wear a tux or whatever. Like, he just always has got something smart to say, and it's just really, I love Edward G. Robinson anyway. Like in other movies, like Little Caesar, he's in another movie that I think came out the same year as Double Indemnity called The Woman in the Window, which is Fritz Lang like film noir, which I love.
We need to do some Fritz Lang movies. We haven't done those before.
We should definitely do that one. It's very, very cool. But Edward G. Robinson's awesome.
I like when he shows up in the office and the guy's like, "Is it a hot day?" Because he's not wearing a suit.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. I mean, this whole thing. I mean, it's just littered. Obviously, with Billy Wilder and Raymond Chandler, writing the screenplay, it's just littered with great dialogue. When Fred MacMurray first meets Barbara Stanwyck, as you mentioned, he just starts rapping to her basically, and the things that they say to each other, she's like, "Careful, there's a speed limit in this state." How fast was I going? The way that they talk. I mean, nobody really talks like that, but it's okay. Like, it just sounds very cool.
She's like, "I'll let you off with a warning."
Yeah.
He's like, what if I don't want the warning?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just that they have a comeback for everything that they say. Yeah. It's really, really great. So yeah, I mean, even just talking about it now, I'm actually getting more excited about it. I mean, I watched it. I feel like about a week ago. It's been a minute since I saw it, but I almost want to go home and watch it again after talking about it. And I think. Again, not that I don't get the importance of it or anything like that, but I did enjoy watching that little retrospective of it, where on the Criterion Blu-ray, where they talked about all the different kind of goings on and how they came up with the screenplay and how they did this and that and stuff. It's very cool. But yeah, it's a very solid film noir. One of the earlier earlier, I guess, examples of film noir. A film noir where somebody's trying to murder their husband. I think, before this you had Maltese Falcon and stuff, which is very complicated. You have these very labyrinthine plots. I don't think this plot is that labyrinthine, but it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was actually surprised. I was surprised there wasn't like a whole lot of twists with it, but not like a pleasantly surprised, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's fairly straightforward. There is the little twist that, Lowell's boyfriend gets pulled in probably because of, it seems like Phyllis is pretty much the mastermind behind all this and stuff like that, and she's probably using him for some other means that maybe we don't get we don't get a view into during the movie and stuff like that. But it seems like she's kind of has these pawns. She's moving these men that are pawns that she's moving around to get her means and stuff like that. So Fred MacMurray kind of saves him a little bit because he's when he's shot, he's just like, hey, just go call Lola. And all that kind of stuff. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, Barbara Stanwyck's character, Phyllis, you don't necessarily, obviously from the get-go, you see that she's not exactly faithful to her husband. She's flirting with Fred MacMurray, the man that she's just met, who's come to her house. They're kind of flirting back and forth. So you know that she's not squeaky clean. But it's not really until later on in the movie that you find out that, she's kind of been playing him all along. I don't think it's quite as overt as like Body Heat, for example. Yeah. Like Kathleen Turner, I think you know from the beginning, this guy's just a patsy for her. I don't think it's necessarily that way in this film, but as things unfold, you start to see that she really is kind of a nasty person. And her daughter, Lola, is basically like, my actual mother, because it's her stepdaughter, she's like, my actual mother, basically, Phyllis killed her, because she was sick. She like left all the windows and stuff open so that, hoping that she would die. So she's a terrible person. And then Fred MacMurray kind of has to almost romance Lola to keep her from blabbing, you know. So it's very cool the way that it all works out. Because this was the 1940s. So in the book, Walter Neff and Phyllis Dietrichson basically commit a double suicide. They basically kill themselves. That was a no-go in the 1940s, like the Hays Code and everything. The censors were very strict on that. And also, you couldn't get away with it, right? So they had to get their comeuppance. So obviously, Phyllis gets shot by Fred MacMurray, and then she in turn shoots Fred MacMurray, and you don't really see him die, but basically he's bleeding out, right? Well, there at the end.
Yeah, when he leaves,
he slumps down at the door, and Barton Keyes helps him, light a cigarette or whatever. He finally lights a match for him instead of the other way around. So, but that he's dying. They actually shot a scene where Fred MacMurray goes to the gas chamber. But there's still shots of it, and I saw them in the little retrospective thing that I watched. But they ended up not going with that ending. It was too depressing, so they ended up going with the ending that they went with. But so they couldn't get away with it. They had to get their comeuppance, which I think it's no fault of the movie because it came out the time that it did. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. I kind of wish somebody would have gotten away with it, in some way. And we'll see on Wednesday a movie where that actually does happen. Somebody gets away with it. But that's it's a good, solid movie. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I did. I really like it. Yeah, I wish I was. I'm like you. I wish I was over the moon with it. I just wish it had that spark with me. But I that being said, it's really good. It's a really good movie. It's something I would definitely revisit again.
It's very, very solid. As I mentioned earlier, it kind of duked it out with Going My Way at the Oscars in 1945. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, but it won a big fat goose egg. It didn't win any. It was nominated for Best Actress for Barbara Stanwyck. She lost to Ingrid Bergman in Gaslight. Ingrid Bergman gaslighted the Academy into letting her win, I guess. Best Black and White Cinematography, it lost to the movie Laura. Best Musical Score, lost to Since She Went Away. Best Sound, lost to Wilson. And then the final 3 awards, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture, it lost all of those to Going My Way, which again, as I mentioned, Jean Heather was also in that, the girl that plays Lola Dietrichson. So she didn't get an Oscar, but she was in an Oscar-winning film. Yeah. She was the best picture-winning film.
Oscar-winning and Oscar-nominated film. That's pretty good.
Yeah. This movie was remade in 1973 for television, Double Indemnity, with Richard Crenna as the Walter Neff character and Samantha Egger as Phyllis Dietrichson. Richard Crenna is actually the ill-fated husband in Body Heat. Okay. He's Kathleen Turner's husband in that film. And Double Indemnity was selected for the National Film Registry in 1992 for preservation. It is 97% fresh
Wow.
on Rotten Tomatoes, 95% audience. Roger Ebert in print gave it 4 stars, and Leonard Maltin gives it 4 stars.
Wow.
Classic all the way around.
Yep, I agree.
Alrighty.
Well, that was Double Indemnity. On these Monday episodes, we always like to talk about what we've been watching. So I'm going to toss it over to you. Andy, what have you been watching?
I have been watching some rhyming movies. I watched a movie called The Call on Netflix. So there's several movies that have come out in recent years called The Call. There's one with Halle Berry.
I've seen that one.
I didn't watch that one.
Okay.
There's another one with Tobin Bell from the Saw series and Lin Shaye. I guess it's a horror movie. Not that one. This one is a South Korean film called The Call. I don't know when it came out, but it's fairly new. It's within the last few years. And it is on Netflix. I think it's a Netflix. It has like the Netflix logo, so I guess it's a Netflix affiliated film. Yes, something like that. But I thought it was pretty good. I like the plot of it. Basically, a young woman moves into a home, and there's an old telephone, and she starts getting calls on the telephone, and it turns out the calls that she's getting are somebody calling from that same house 20 years earlier.
Oh.
So, and it's like a thriller, like it's a very kind of tense film, and I thought it was pretty cool the way that they did it. I feel like, I know there's like the movie, what is it, The Lake House, where I think Keanu Reeves is getting mail or something from, what is it, from the past? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
So I don't know that this is like super, super original. I feel like it's been done maybe in different ways, in other films, but I still thought it was pretty good. I will say, though, I mean, I would recommend it. Like, I thought it was cool. It held my interest. I'll say that. The one thing I would say, though, is turn it off the minute the credits start, because it's one of those movies where they have an ending and then they decide to keep going through the credits, and the ending through the credits I think sucks. Okay. So I feel the same way about the movie Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead. I just turn it off at the end credits because it keeps going, and to me it doesn't ruin it, but it seriously mars what was otherwise a pretty good movie. Yeah. And I feel like this does the same thing. They just don't know when to quit. Yeah. So if you do watch it, it's up to you, but I would say turn it off like when you see the actual ending before the credits start.
Well, I have a soft spot for mysterious call thrillers. So.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Partially because I tried to write one.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it may not be, it may not blow you away, but I thought it was pretty good. And the movie that Call rhymes with is Fall. Yeah, Fall, about the two girls that climb the old, like, I don't know, like television tower or something. Yeah, it's some kind of tower.
Some big tower.
It's very high. It's 2,000 feet in the air, or 2,000 something. 2,000 miles? No.
2,000 miles up.
Yeah, 2,000 miles up. They climb up into outer space. No, they so this movie, I had seen the preview for it, and I was like, okay, I definitely want to see that, because I'm not afraid of heights. Well, I was not afraid of heights as a kid. I think now as I get a little older, I get a little more cautious. So I'm not necessarily going to be walking along the ledge of a building on the roof or anything like that. But, I just figured it would be good, for kind of thrills or whatever. But it has the same problem so when we watched the movie Crawl about the alligators that the girl...
Which also rhymes.
I felt like I like that movie overall, but I could do without the drama that they had in there. Like, to me, it's just enough to have her and her family trying to get away from these alligators, crocodiles. I don't remember which one it is, but one of those is trying to eat them, basically. That's all I need. I don't need, you've had a falling out with your sister and you've got to patch things up or whatever. And this movie has too much of that drama in it. There's too much drama between the two girls, and it makes the movie needlessly long. Yeah. I feel like if they cut all that out, it would be a lot better. I also feel like there's part of it. Well, I don't want to spoil it because we're not reviewing that film, but there's a part in the movie that just did not sit well with me at all. That's all I'll say. But overall, I didn't care for that one. They could have done without all the stupid drama and just had the girls fight to survive. You don't need this like, oh, I'm mad at you because of this. Yeah. I don't need all that crap. Anyway, that's what I've been watching. What have you been watching?
Well, we're not to spoil what we're following this movie up with, but we're watching a couple thrillers this week. And I decided to watch another thriller that you and I saw in theaters, and I wanted to revisit it. So I watched Knives Out. And that's Rian Johnson's movie, and partially because the new trailer came out. Yeah. I think this week, if not today.
Yeah, was it yesterday? They've got a new Knives Out mystery for what's his name?
Ryan Johnson.
No, the Daniel Craig character.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, they got a
Benoit
new
Blanc.
mystery for Benoit Blanc to
Or
solve.
as Lakeith Stanfield calls him, Benny, which
Benny.
gets under my skin. I was hoping I would come around on this movie, and I have not.
You still have not.
So the stuff, have you revisited since we saw it in theater?
No.
Okay. The stuff that bothered me, it still bothers me with it, and the fact that you find out pretty early on in the movie what actually happened, and then from then on it turns into like a whodunit, into like a how done it maybe, or why done it. It just changes, and I think the problem is Ryan Johnson's trying to be too clever, and for me it just loses me a lot on it. And I know I'm in the minority because this movie has great critic reviews, has great audience reviews, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it just feels too clever for its own good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know. It's making me it's making me reevaluate how I feel about Ryan Johnson. And I don't know if that's a real true statement, but I love the Brothers Bloom so much. And I just want movies that are kind of like that. And this movie is close, but it's not. And it just seems like with a lot of his movies, he's trying to subvert the genre. Like he was trying to subvert things with The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to subvert things with Looper, maybe to a less extent. And then with this, he's trying to subvert that, mystery whodunit genre and stuff like that. So it's just, I don't find the subversion of the genre as interesting as if he did something that would fit well in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was, like I said, I was kind of disappointed that I didn't come around on it a little bit more because I really want to. And I was listening to another podcast, so it was Slash Film Daily, and one of the hosts was talking about how soon can you call a movie like your favorite movie, right? And he's saying that Knives Out is his favorite movie because he's watched it he says 30 times since it's come out or something like that.
Yeesh.
And I know you're not a big fan of rewatch, but he loves it. And I'm just like, I wish I got that love for the movie, but I don't. So, yeah. So I kind of wanted another mystery, wanted to watch something that was in line with what we were watching this week. And unfortunately, Knives Out was what is that, but it didn't fill me full of joy.
I mean,
watching it.
I think Knives Out is good, but I can't say too much without spoiling it or whatever. But my interpretation of it after we saw it, which turned out to be incorrect apparently, I found to be more interesting than actually what happens in the movie. And I wish he would have gone that route, which is what I was thinking he was going to do, but he didn't. I forgot. Are you a fan of Brick? That's a Ryan Johnson movie.
Yeah, it's Ryan Johnson's first movie. I like it. I mean, I think I'm not over the moon, but I think it's okay, solid, good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it.
So he did Brick. He did Brothers Bloom. He did Looper, Last Jedi, Knives Out. Trying to figure out if he did something else in between that. I think that's it.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Wish I came around to it, but I have not. I'm on the fence. I guess I'll watch the new one. I mean, it's gonna be on Netflix, so it's not gonna be hard to watch.
Low effort to watch.
Low effort, but it's just I don't know. And it's and they call it I forgot the name of it. It's is it Looking Glass or Spyglass or something like that? And it's like a Knives Out mystery, and you're like, it's another one of those things where you maybe. It would have been nice if he'd known there was going to be sequels, if he would have named the first movie differently, because it's really like a Benoit Blanc mystery, but he has nothing to do with Knives Out. Knives Out is because of, Harlan Trombley and his book. He had a book called 1,000 Daggers or whatever, and there's a bunch of daggers in there. But unless these people are relatives of Trombley, then in the new movie, then why is it a Knives Out mystery? Other than people know what Knives Out is.
It's like Hobbs and Shaw, Fast and Furious franchise or something.
Yeah. They seem to do that, or what they do with the new Fantastic Beasts movies. They're Fantastic Beasts, that Harry Potter universe movie or whatever they call it.
They really want to make sure that this is affiliated with that other thing that you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you just saw whatever the title was of the new Knives Out thing and it didn't say a Knives Out mystery, you might be like, what's that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh?
So that's what I've been watching, Knives Out.
All right, Knives Out.
So we watched Double Indemnity, which is a movie about people trying to pull one over, trying to murder someone, all that kind of stuff. What did you decide to pair this with?
Yeah, it's a film noir about basically, trying to bump off your husband and get some money and everything else. I initially considered pairing this. I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, James M. Cain also wrote The Postman Always Rings Twice. And I think Double Indemnity is good, but I really love Postman Always Rings Twice. Like I like it a lot better. I considered pairing it with that. But I thought, no, let's go a little bit more recent. So I decided once again to kind of shine a spotlight on a movie that came out 50 years after Double Indemnity in 1994 and got a lot of acclaim whenever it originally came out, but probably isn't talked about a whole lot now. It does have a Blu-ray release, but yeah, I think it's maybe out of print or something like that. I remember reading the review of it on Blu-ray.com, and they were like, the quality's not that great. Something like that. So I just don't hear a lot of people talking about this film anymore. I've seen it before, but it's been, 28 years since I've seen it. So I decided to shine a spotlight on a movie called The Last Seduction. So we will talk about that on Wednesday.
All right. Well, that was everything Double Indemnity and more. Let us know what you think about Double Indemnity. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment down below or shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff. It helps, and we do appreciate that. And stay tuned Wednesday when we find out if it is actually The Last Seduction or not. And we'll see you soon, guys.
The ultimate seduction or the penultimate seduction?
That's right.
Or neither.
Or maybe just The Last Seduction, the beginnings.
Because
there is a sequel to it. Spoiler alert.
There is.
So it wasn't the last.
It was not the last.
All right. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.